Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to Future Dimensions 360. As you guys know, in our last two tutorial, we are learning about context in React.js. How we can create context, why we need context, and what are props drilling. We had learned all of these topics in detail. I would like to add two more points into our learning phase for context to wind up this topic. Let's go ahead and try to learn. One of them is default values for the context providers. What will happen if I will comment out this provider and I'll move forward to my browser, I'll see hello and there is nothing appear in front. So in case of that, this is why, because my context doesn't have any kind of default value here. Let me show you how we can add a default value. When you are creating a context, simply just pass the parameter, the value as a parameter to create context function. So it will create a context default value for you automatically. Let me say here, I will be providing React.js tutorials tutorial here as a default value. Now my contexts have a default value React.js tutorial. Once I go to browser, I will see hello React.js tutorial as a default value. Once I uncomment my user providers, I will see the value that is provided from the provider. This is one thing. Second thing is you can assign a context type to your class or React.js component class, any type of context type to React.js component class. How? For that one, first of all, you have to export your context here. I will say export default. I will export my pure context directly, user context. That's it. Let me show you in my component G. I am already using a consumer. Let me go ahead to component F and try to assign a context to this component. How can I assign a context to this component? By using class name component F dot context type equals to, I will say, user context. This is the way how you can assign a context to your React.js component class. Now how I can use that one is, for example, I will say here h1, and inside h1 I will say hello, and the username, whatever the username is, this will be dependent this dot context. So I will access the value of this context by using this dot context in this class. What is the context? That is user context. Hello user context from component F, I can say. Let me save and go to the browser. You can say hello future dimensions 360. That is the value I'm providing from the provider from component F. So this is the way how you can assign a context to the component class directly. There is another way to do that is you can use static context type equals to user context as well. This is another way to assign a context type also to the static context type variable. So once I will go to my browser, I will see the expected values there again as it is. You guys can see like it's very much simple. You can directly assign a context type to user context instead of using the consumer and callback. It's a bit complicated process. So why I'm using this process is recommended more instead of this. Why? It's a bit easier, but it has two limitations. One of them is it's only available in class component. It's not available in functional component. And nowadays, people mostly they are using functional component at it as it's easy to use and easy to write a code as well and easy to understand as well, and having all the functionalities that React provides is available in functional component. The second thing is that in this method your class will strictly use one context only. What if I want a username and a language value as well? I want multiple providers. What will happen in that scenario? For example, I will create another file called, for example, currency context.js. Okay. From user context, I will just copy paste everything to a currency context to quickly write a code, and I will say One second. I will copy this user and I will say Control F, this user, replace it with currency. Replace all, and you guys can see I had replaces all the currency contexts. And I will say the default value is USD, and the current value is, if I will go to my app.js folder, what I can do here is I will import a currency provider. Okay, inside currency provider, I will say the value equals to AED euro, I will say EUR euro. So once I move to my current component F, here I cannot provide any kind of context other than user context because I am limited to assign one context to a class only. But here, if I go to G component, I can use this context directly anywhere I want. How? I will say like this. For example, I will create a div. Okay, inside this div, I'll just make X and I'll paste it. And the second one is currency consumer. And same thing I will copy paste here to go save the time. And the value is say currency and the value. See, hello future dimensions 360 currency is euro. So in my second method, in my first method that I had shown you in the last video, what I can do is I can use multiple context here. But in this method, I'm not able to use multiple method in this class. So this is how I want to explain to you guys. That's it for the context pretty much. I think you guys can understand context in detail. In case of any question, you can comment us, you can reach us to our mailbox as well. Please don't forget to subscribe and like our channel. Thank you. Allah Hafiz.